Hello, and welcome to Asheville 8 Note, I think. This is a different stool than usual. My stools are all the way across the room. My studio is a wreck. My name is Sam Irvin. This is Asheville 8 Note. Asheville 8, parentheses, PM, end parentheses, note. The live stream where I have different Asheville musician guests on to chat for an hour and jam for an hour, usually. It's been every week until recently. Now I'm going down to every other week, a bi-weekly vodcast, video podcast. I'm disconcerted that I'm a little shorter than usual. I'm switching stools. Okay, you know what? I'm going to walk all the way across the room and get this other stool that I like using. But first, in the tradition of the show, I'm going to check and make sure
Walk all the way across the room and get this other
that I can be heard, which I can. So you guys can now listen to me walk across the room. One moment. Stop. Stomp. Okay, I'm back. Now, yes, it looks like everything is broadcasting now. This has been a big year for Asheville 8 Note and Irvin Music Studio. Yes, usually on the show I have on guests. I do a little solo spiel up top, but I'm usually relying on people looking at me in the studio and their reactions. I'm assuming that you at home are gasping a lot and applauding after every other sentence that I say. So that helps. Imagining that helps. I will continue on courageously. What am I doing? What am I continuing on to? This is my New Year's episode. I looked back over the past year and saw that the first episode of 2023 was a solo ep where I sort of detailed the past, present, and future of my musical career, what I'm getting into, what I've gotten out of, what I plan to get into and get out of, what I'm into right now in this very moment, narrating. Is this narration? I don't think so. Hosting a show. This show has been growing at a steady pace. This is episode 91. That's really exciting. I have had a lot of great bands on this year. Mundane Magic, now they're going by Soft Kilter, was on recently. Had, oh my gosh, My Magnificent Nemesis, Carpal Tuller, fantastic groups on, and more. I was looking back at I watched just a little bit of the solo ep that I did last year. I realized that I don't look into the camera, I look off into the distance, but I'm going to continue with that because I don't know how it makes me feel when YouTubers are talking right at me into the camera. How does it make you feel? Comment. Actually, I won't see your comments until later though, because I'm no longer have well, I suppose if you comment on YouTube, I will see it. So if you're watching anywhere else other than YouTube, pop over there. That's where the archive is, by the way, of old episodes of Asheville 8 Note. I tried to go back and mix them so they sound a little better, chop out the please wait sort of animation from the top, chop it, make it a little neater in general. Although I'm very behind, I'm like 10 episodes behind, hence me dropping down to every other week. But I feel as though the show has come a long way. Picked up a few subscribers over the past year. Feel free to smash the subscribe button so you see future episodes and other things that I post on Asheville Music Studio. Last year, I called these microphones an SM-B7, so that illustrates a growth point in itself because these are SM7Bs, as everybody knows, even me now, a year later. What else has gotten better, I just upgraded the studio in a major way. Now everything is patched into a big patch bay that you'll see right next to me from a couple of camera angles. Maybe later in the episode I'll go through that and do a little tutorial on the patch bay that I've set up. That took a lot of time, 3 or 4 hours a night over the past month or so. Even more cables than minutes. Well, that's probably not true, but there are a zillion cables in the back of that thing. I've also got everything working now through my MacBook Pro, which is a big upgrade from the desktop that I had built that had caused some technical difficulties on this show and in the recording studio. And so now with this much more powerful computer, should be seeing a clearer picture and hearing better audio. I'm still stuck with an ATEM Mini Pro video switcher over there that maxes out at 1080p, so I guess that's the bottleneck for this show. I'll need to upgrade to something that supports 4K, and then perhaps get more 4K cameras. The Q2N, the Zoom Q2N cameras that I use for 3 out of 4 of the camera angles for this show say that they're 4K. But I don't know, they could be a little better. Great sound on those cameras, though. You're not hearing that sound in the show, but I use them to take video of gigs when I'm out and about, including wedding gigs. So me, again, I'm Sam Irvin. I play wedding gigs. I'm primarily a classical guitarist. And often I'm playing solo or with string combos like violin, guitar duet, or trios with cello and bass. I also sometimes organize jazz ensembles. I have a jazz degree, even though I specialize in classical guitar now. I went to UNCA and got a jazz and philosophy double. So I take videos of all these weddings, and that's another thing that I'm backed up on. Plenty of video editing in my near future, which means plenty more videos for you in your near future, especially if you hit subscribe. So go ahead and do that for Asheville Music Studio. No, Asheville Music Studio. Irvin Music Studio. There's also a Patreon. I have not been keeping up with the Patreon, but there is one, so you could check that out. Feel free to support this platform for local musicians to get their profound words out. I try to operate this show somewhere in between Comedy Bang Bang and what's that NPR show that I like? Fresh Air, maybe? I do like to hear what motivates my guests and share my struggles with artistic blocks. It's been wonderful to hear varied perspectives, really normalizing the obstacles that the creative process presents. There's also some really fun improv on the show sometimes when people say hilarious things. Oh, I'm trying to think of the last person who said something hilarious. It was probably me. I'll leave it there. So I play weddings often. I do this live stream. I have a recording studio. This year, I produced a couple of songs for a guy named Greg. I'm blanking on your last name, Greg, but those were really great Russia protest songs for in regards to the Ukraine invasion. Also worked with a nice Indian woman named Netya. Hey, Netya. I'm also forgetting your last name. Man, I do remember some clients' last names, though, I promise. That music was really cool, sort of a fusion style. You can hear one of her songs up on my website. But most of the production in the studio this year has been either working on this live stream or recording parts for the forthcoming album, which I did just hear myself talking about on last year's New Year's check-in. So still working on this same album, but I'm aiming for a springtime release. So I believe that that things are coming together. I've recorded many drummers on it. Ben New from Dr. Bacon, Edwin Miracle from Snake Whale and Phantomax. Who else has been? Zach Downs from Dino Birds. We were very disappointed that we couldn't do our Thanksgiving Day Dino Birds episode again this year, but hopefully that will continue to be a tradition in the future. Who else has been in here smacking the drums? Philip Trutel, that dude smashed out some metal blast beats that you would not believe. That's going to be really cool. James Kylan from My Magnificent Nemesis again. Homer Jenkins, he was on the show with Placebo Eye Drops. Yes, I'm devolving into just saying band names and the names now, so I'll stop. But lots of drummers, violinists, flutists, trombonists, pianists, all contributing to the album. I am so grateful to have so much community support as I'm trying to wrangle this gigantic project into existence. And I'm really looking forward to putting it out so I can work on some new stuff. It's very demanding. All of this video editing and refinement of old material, perpetuation of, is perpetuation a word? Not sure, but I'm gonna perpetuate the use of it here. The perpetuation of, current projects like this live stream or marketing for weddings and such. It doesn't leave a whole lot of marginal room for new creative projects. So I'm excited to simplify this year, take this down to every other week, finish up the album. By my next New Year's check-in, hopefully there will be new projects that I'm involved with. Let's see. Another thing that I do is teach music lessons. Right now I'm teaching Monday through Thursday. I teach one day at Asheville Music School Mondays, and I teach the other 3 days here in the studio. I teach guitar, trumpet, drums, piano, ukulele. I sometimes teach production, so mixing, how to use EQ, compression, reverb, other effects, gain staging, how many cables do you need to buy for what? These, what do you want your recording to sound like a band on a stage, or do you want your recording to sound like it's in outer space? These are important learning curves to the recording process, and I've helped some students with stuff like that, or just general creative coaching, which some of the production work kind of turns into that, a collaboration where I'm helping someone record parts for their song, while at the same time we're kind of making it the best it can be together. So I teach lessons. I have a couple of slots left, but I'm pretty full up, feeling very grateful to my students as well. I've got lessons set up on a weekly basis typically, and offer 30-minute, 45-minute, an hour-long lessons set up on a membership model. And I find it to be really rewarding. Just did the winter recital a couple of weeks ago in December, and had about 12 students perform at Trinity Episcopal Church downtown, where I sometimes play the Celtic service, where they have a rotating cast of Asheville musicians to come and entertain every Sunday at 5:30. So you can check that out. I'm pretty sure it's open to the public. I really love performing in that space, and for such a quiet audience. And it's a large reverberous room, so perfect for a recital. Had students play everything from Bach to Nirvana, really enjoy that. But I don't. Usually, it's just the children, the younger students who perform at the recital. But I also teach some adults as well. What else is there to say about teaching or weddings or production? So Irvin Music Studio sort of has these three departments as I've built the business. Lessons, performance or event entertainment, and sound production services, which I think this live stream falls into that. This is quite a production. And then also my original work, my album, but also recording services for other people, which includes tracking and mixing. And now that I've got a couple of new toys that I bought myself for Christmas, I upgraded to a couple of nice preamps. These Warm Audio WA273 EQs. I got 2 channels of that and the bus compressor, the Warm Audio bus compressor. So that enables me to do a little bit higher level of mastering chain. But yeah, I'm really proud of the patch bay. Those are both patched into my patch bay along with all of the Moog gear in the system. You can see that I upgraded the studio to these double tier keyboard stands. All of those, the Model D, the grandmother, the matriarch, and the one. Not to mention over here the D-Fan, the subharmonicon, the Mother 32, and all of the Moger Fogers and mini Fogers. They're all patched into the patch bay over there, which makes it a lot more convenient for adding effects on the fly, really rich sounding analog effects to recordings, which I plan to do a little bit later after I finish my rambling about what I'm up to musically. It's hard to carry the show by myself. I hope that this has had some thread of connectivity and logical sequencing, kind of hopping from one idea to the next here, but I'm going to keep trying until I stop talking and maybe set up some sequences on these Moog synthesizers and smash the drums a little bit. I think that's my plan. I don't think I'm going to play much classical guitar today or any. I did that last year, I think, and I have on the show before. I've played the Bach Prelude to the Fourth Cello Suite that I've memorized. What else have I played on the show? I sang a song last week. Oof. Enjoy that. I'm excited to get a better recording of that down soon, too. I wrote this nice little bossa nova that I am pretty proud of. Let's see what else is there to say. Setting up sequences on the synthesizers, throwing them through the effects, and blasting some stuff out to smash the drums to is a lot of fun for me. That's kind of like a hobby. One way that I can be creative with music that doesn't feel like a grind. It doesn't always feel like a grind. I feel very privileged to be a full-time musician. I'm very, very grateful for all of my clients, all of my students, all of my collaborators and the colleagues who have again come on this show just out of the kindness of their hearts to talk and to spend time goofing around with music, connecting through music, and sharing their talents here on the show. That is super. That's very huge, and I feel just so honored. Oh man, I might cry. That's touching me more than I had anticipated. But sometimes it is a grind, teaching long lesson days without enough breaks. I don't know if anybody out there watches the Andrew Huberman podcast, but he had this great, he's probably mentioned it multiple times, there is the circadian rhythm in terms of like how long you should sleep at night. He advocates for doing that, along the lines of when the sun rises and sets. as much as you can to try to get outside and look at the sun, not at the sun, but get sunlight in your eyes to regulate your sleeping patterns for your circadian rhythm. But there's also ultradian rhythms, which are supposed to be cycles that are smaller than that bigger circadian rhythm. For instance, focusing for 90 minutes at a time and then taking 10 or 20-minute breaks. So in the long run, here's another future plan or aspiration. I would love to get my lessons blocked into 90-minute study sessions with my students, for lack of a better term, 90-minute teaching sessions, and then 15-minute breaks. I think that's more manageable, will fry my brain less. Again, I love my students, but it's quite a it can be draining to watch so intently. I try to give my attention to my student 100% the whole time that they're in front of me. And I know many other teachers in town do that too. I took some lessons this year? Perhaps last year, with Andy Jurek. He's been on the show, great classical guitarist. This year, I took some jazz lessons with Jason DeCristofario. Is that how you say your last name? Not sure. He has not been on the show yet. I think he's deliberating about doing some interviews with musicians on his YouTube channel, so you should check that out. I'm sure it's going to be great. While I'm on that topic, next week I've got, I believe, or it's not next week anymore, 2 weeks from now, I've got Ron Taylor with WNC Music Podcasts coming on. I need to check in with him to make sure we're still on schedule, but that should be good to speak to another guy. I'll ask him if he ever does solo episodes and what he talks about. How does he keep it straight? I meant to write out a list of everything I had done this year. It was a crazy year. I went to Japan. I don't know if there's much musically involved in my trip to Japan other than I saw a nasty punk band, Otoboke Beaver. They were sick. And then the headliner of that show was also sick, but I'm forgetting what their name was. Wah something, I think. That was great. Saw a great jazz band while I was over there. A lot of great street music, and a lot of great like kitsch versions of like toy box sounding like classical music, like Bach or something, played in like saunas. Or I went to a like a flower exhibit, an arboretum with beautiful trees and flowers, and yeah, just wonderful little versions of stuff. And the trains also each have their own signature musical sound, I think, for each stop or each train system. I couldn't quite work it out, but that was a phenomenal horizon broadening experience to go to Japan in April. But then it was kind of difficult to get back into the swing of things throughout the summer. Just as busy with weddings this year, definitely almost 50 performances played this year, which is feeling pretty good. Right now, I'm in the middle of the second week of a break, so I've had a little staycation. I hope all of you out there are taking some time for yourself and resting as much as you should. The holidays can be a lot. That can be stressful. So I'm very happy. I think I'll do this each year to take the last week of the year off and also the first week of the year off. So next week I'm back at it with teaching my lessons and scheduling recording sessions for my album. But it'll be a while until the weddings start up again. Not to say that there's not a ton of work to do for that. I've got some video editing of those past weddings to put together to just have some samples up on this YouTube page, some more contemporary and more polished, refined samples. And of course, I gotta do some reaching out to wedding planners and just try to stay on the radar, post on social media and such. If you're not following Irvin Music Studio on Instagram, Facebook, we're out there. We got a page. I think these live streams are still being put up on X. Don't know about that, but also on LinkedIn. I'm sure a lot of people are catching this on LinkedIn and on Twitch, I think. Let's see if I'm still coming through. I'm curious. What if I've been talking to nobody this whole time? I didn't record it. I think. Let's see if I'm still coming through. Yeah, good. I am. Let's see. Have I discovered anything cool recently? I got the MPC-1 plugins happening, so I've got a keyboard set up to soon be playing away at like the Mellotron and other artificial renderings of classic instruments. I'm hoping that there's a sweet clavichord kind of sound that I can access. Playing drums has been fun. What else? I think I'm about to run out of stuff to talk about. I really wanted to go through this whole list of who's been on the live stream last year and thank everybody. Let's do this together. So I'm gonna check out Irvin Music Studio, the page. I'm giving you a walk. Oh, I think I got a new subscriber, everybody. Look at that. Yes, so now I'm gonna look at the live stream and go all the way back to the me episode. Then I had Amelia Alice Dahl on. She's great, hard working, hard posting singer-songwriter who put together this great Love Goddess event that I attended and really enjoyed. Met some of a certain Asheville community there who I still see around. Value those relationships. The next episode was Chris Tuller and Ben New. It was kind of interesting to put those guys together. Ben New from Dr. Bacon, Chris Tuller from Carpal Tuller. It's funny that maybe that's why I called him out earlier, why they sank into my brain, because they came back and did that episode. It was a fun jam from what I remember. I don't remember much of it. Alex Travers, though, I remember that jam. We had a couple of great moments that we clicked, made for great little tiny samples to advertise the show. Same with Graham Whitley. Came on and did some live looping. He had some great things to say to me about building a team and delegating. I didn't listen to him at all. I think about it sometimes. Right now I'm still trying to do everything myself. It's difficult to maybe get an assistant involved, but something to consider for 2024. That might be a future goal as well. Paul Gaeta and Rob Gray, great friends, great music producers. Great episode. I'm sure we rocked some Moog stuff, made some weird sounds. Now, this anniversary episode I plan to do with Andy John and Zach Downs again, maybe somebody else. That's sometime in February. Andy John is another teacher, sort of, don't tell him I said this, but maybe a mentor. He said something very wise to me about how people take music lessons for lots of different reasons. I think when I started teaching, and I still have a tendency to go here, like I was and can be a little heavy-handed, a little bit strict in my approach to the fundamentals, and wanting to encourage the most progress that I could out of my students, would really hammer down the idea of practice, but not everybody's going to be a professional musician, and a lot of people really want to have fun with music, and lessons are an entryway into doing that. They want to connect through music. In fact, I hear these different reasons for doing music from the variety of musicians who are on this show. A lot of different people take music lessons for a lot of different reasons, and a lot of people play music and keep up and dedicate themselves to the craft for, I guess, as many different reasons as there are people, Why do I do it? That's such a good question. Thank you for asking. I probably, I do it so that I can feel. I feel like it's something that I have studied for a long time, that I'm good at, that I care about, and in that way, it makes me feel substantive or substantial, um, like I'm providing something of value to the world and earning my place. Right? I think it's a more something I'm trying to work on recently is, of course, just feeling worthy of love, no matter what, because we all are. You are worthy of love. And so that is, it's I think a lot of my motivation to grind and work so much. I've talked to other musicians about this too. I'm not alone. That there's a worry that if I become comfortable, especially as I get a little older, I'm 32 now. As I uh, learn more about the way that I like to live, the way that living works for me, that I might not need to grind so hard or work so hard on this craft, which is worrisome because I am very proud of all the hard work that I've done. But that's an ongoing struggle for everybody, right? I think I often block myself too and procrastinate, and or try to stay well-rounded in my priorities. My like swimming. I just swam my 350th mile today. Very dedicated to that, and journaling and reading and having a social life. There's more to life than music and grinding it out. But you do have to work hard to make any creation really stick. Today I had a conversation with somebody in the sauna, and he talked first about how there was a power surge and he lost all of, hours of work that he had been recording. And my immediate knee-jerk reaction was to offer advice like, hey, there's an autosave option, like you can prevent that in the future. And he mentioned that for him it was metaphorical and that it had a deeper meaning, right? Like the universe was trying to tell him that material wasn't good enough to use, or that it was a sort of mandala, like that he deserved to be living in that present moment and it didn't deserve to be created. But then he went on to talk about his creative process and it being largely improv oriented and flow oriented, and coming up with ideas left and right that he felt proud of and that are exciting. And I love that approach, and I love experimenting with music and tinkering. I think I use that word when I talk about why I do music. I'm a tinkerer. I just like to experiment and get new sounds and enjoy that. But to actually get a work through the creative process of coming up with the idea to arranging it, recording it, writing it down so you don't forget it before that, maybe mixing it, adding whatever effects, putting it out there, marketing it so other people will listen to it. It's a Herculean task, not to mention the consistency of doing it regularly, and how that, I guess I'm just patting myself on the back and all the other musicians in town. I'm going to continue on my list of all these musicians who are working it. Shireen was on. That was great. She's a last minute guest. Also a live looper. I believe some Iranian vocal looping. Really cool, unique stuff. Fancy and the Gentlemen were on. They were the first band, I think, to be on the show. A country band, honky tonk band. We talked about the 4 cardinal virtues and death a lot, and also what honky tonk is, so you can go back and check that out. Sam Browse was on with Ben New, who was back. Sam Browse from Oh no, Papadozio is his band. Really friendly guy. Love Ben New too. I think Ben New is the only drummer who have got doubled up on a song on my album, or doubled up on 2 songs on my album that's coming out. He's coming back to record another one soon. Hannah Kennedy and Dr. Claudia Malchow. I think that's how you pronounce her name. A couple of string players who play weddings with me. Mike Martinez, huge DJ rock guy in town, guitarist, singer, voice on BPR, reading the weather sometimes. So I was lucky to have him on the show, along with Sun Goblin, a great band, one of my favorite episodes. Really go check out the Sun Goblin episode and any shows they've got coming up. Ryan Kajanka, another Asheville Music School teacher, longtime friend who has taught me a lot about teaching too. His episode was largely centered around his like educational philosophy, and I found that to be really insightful. Steve Okonski and Merrick Noyes, they came and played a lot of keys. Steve is a jazz guy, and Merrick is a producer in his own right. Beat producer. Great stuff. Reed Parler and Philip Trutel were on. They were in a band called Shibutica, but they also do a variety of genres in town. Guitarist, and actually Phil is not in town anymore. He moved to Raleigh, I think. He's an ophthalmologist, I believe, alongside his epic drum playing. We had a Dino Birds episode. Those are some of my favorites. I'm really comfortable getting goofy with Zach. I'd say go. That's probably a top episode as well. Maybe I should do a top 5, right? That's in the top 5. Andrew Thelston was on with Edwin Miracle. That's what a mashup there. That is probably a good jam. The Hill Climbers were on, a brother duo, kind of singer, folky kind of vibe. Listen to how many people were on this live stream. I'm only at episode 66. There's so many more weeks. I should speed up. Let's see. Oh my God. Should I go back to doing it weekly? I don't know. There won't be this many next year. But Amanda Durst was on, another great educator and cellist in town. Andy Jurek and Laura Boswell, classical guitarists, were on. Lou Rawls, a audio genius, came on, brought an impressive assortment of his gear, and that episode is worth checking out. Top 5 for sure. So I got 3 of the top 5 so far. Rick Davis was on. That's great. He works in marketing, but he has a recording studio too. Forget what his studio is called, but his name's Rick Davis. Look him up. Good dude. TJ Mills and Rosser Douglas came on. Old Moog friends. I'm going to ask them to come back on. I believe they do a trio with another guy, Andrew. So I'm going to try to have their trio on. I had Placebo Eye Drops on twice, because the first time I didn't capture the effects from Homer Jenkins' 808, or Behringer clone of the 808 that he runs through effects, and we only captured the dry signal, so we lost like a lot of the artistry of that performance. And then when they came back the second time for the redo, I was having some pretty hard difficulties with the matriarch, so you can enjoy those for some laughs if you want to watch me sweat. Carrie Morrison was on for an episode. She sang the song she put out mildly recently, put out a music video for. So check out Carrie Morrison and her music video. I hope you understand that this is a big thank you to all of these musicians who are coming on the show. It's like a big, I'm reading the credits, right? Or these are the credits flashing at the end of the year. So stoked to have all these people on, especially Boat Command, another top 5. Boat Command sounded great. They were friendly dudes. They got a really special sound. Loungy, post lo-fi, I believe is what they go by. And yeah, Boat Command, really cool grooves, a lot of electronic Moog sort of sound in that. I think I got in there and jammed with him on one too. That was fun. David Stevenson, great classical guitarist, had an incredible career teaching at UNCA in Western or Mars Hill, I think, but for like 25 or 30 years. It's crazy. So he came on and talked about that for a little bit, and also he owns the company that makes the guitar stands that I use, the Sagework magnetic guitar stands for classical guitarists. Those are great. Totally recommend that. Another Dino Birds episode. I'm sure that one was killer. My Magnificent Nemesis, I already mentioned that as one of the top ones. Top 5. That's 5 top 5s. But Carpal Tunnel was probably a top 5 too. Adrian Blanks and the Oracles, they would have made top 5 if they had brought their drummer, I'll be honest. They left their drummer at home. Or he couldn't come, I think, because he was in class or something like that. We're still going through them. We had now, so these are all the ones that I'm slacking on actually putting up on the live stream. Izzy Hughes came. She's also involved with radio in WNC and as a singer, I think songwriter, but she does unique acoustic covers of harder songs like Metallica. So that's pretty cool. Christina Chandler and Roddy Wilder came on as a couple. Don't know if they're still a couple. Didn't know if they were a couple when they were here, so I didn't mention that on the episode. But there's some hot goss for you. Roddy played an amazing like bass and voice solo that it really blew my mind. The harmonies were very creative on that. And Christina had an awesome set at AVL Fest. I think I saw her for part of that, maybe. She plays everywhere, though. Those are some hardworking musicians. I'm very grateful that they took the time to come on the live stream. I saw Jim and Karen Gennaro on the stream to advertise their new venue, The Well in West Asheville. A beautiful little listening room, very peaceful, serene, I think. No bar, just an attentive, if you're playing there or going to see a show there, I think an attentive audience is the vibe there. I had Kate Bryant on to advertise her new album, Roots, or an EP, I should say. That was fantastic. I helped her record a music video for one of her songs, Carolina, or I think Carolina. She doesn't pronounce Carolina all the way. Oh no, I'm getting a message from Chris Tuller, who's helping me with his piano. I will get back to him. He's got Chris Tuller of Carpal Tunnel has apparently a baby grand that's MIDI programmable. So that's really fun, cool stuff. I've got a couple of songs on my album where the piano parts are just like really, really intense and hard, and so we're programming them into that piano. But yeah, check out Kate Bryant's EP Roots. Paul Gato is back on, and we discovered that kalimba and classical guitar makes a delightful duo. So I believe I'm going to play with him at The Well coming up in February sometime as a guitar and kalimba, the little finger harp, the African instrument. I believe it's African. Yeah, really chill, peaceful vibe there. I think I just used the word vibe, but it was a vibe. Miss Daisy and Illusion, the only rappers I've had on the show so far, and there were terrible technical difficulties while we started the show about an hour late. They have a bunch of followers still, though, that were patient and tuned in, and they do a great open mic at Canvas, some venue in town. They're hype people. I wanted to have them back on the show. One of their backing tracks had like their rap on it already, so they kind of rapped with themselves. It was kind of noisy. Would love to do another rap episode. The Build was on. Great band, The Build. Check out that episode. Top 5. That's 6, 7 top 5s. Maybe it's top 10 because that one was really good. Jessica Schaefer and Jessica Meltz were on, both harpists. And at some point I jammed with them on classical guitar. We were all plucking. That episode set the record for amount of plucking. Simultaneously plucking just so many notes, but it was also just like heavenly. Like, I was being caressed by, clouds. Wonderful stuff. Nice ladies. Mundane Magic, I already mentioned. Savannah Hatfield leads that band. They're great. I'm sure they've got some really special stuff coming in 2024 when she gets back. But Mundane Magic is no more. They're now called Soft Kilter. So look out for Soft Kilter. She alone is sort of an Americana... I think anti-folk is a word that she uses. The band is like a grungy kind of throwback sound, but still doing some interesting new things, and so look out for that. The Cartridge Family is a bunch of Moog guys playing covers of video game music on synthesizers. Awesome. That was a great episode. They played some Koji Kondo. That's all I cared about. He's the man. And then, last week was the last one, number 90, Jason Chen and Jordan Durham. They were Christian musicians and perfect for the Christmas episode. They singer-songwriters. They frequent the open mic that the Tony from The Build heads up at One World West downtown every Monday. So you could check that out. Wow, that was a big Asheville advertisement. This music scene is huge. It's unreal. There are still plenty of people that I would love to have on the show. Man, reading through all that did make me want to go back to doing it weekly. Who knows? Maybe I can make that happen. But I did take a little hiatus there. Took about a month off, and that felt really good too. This time of rest has felt really good. There's only so long that I can push to grind all of this stuff out. So I think bi-weekly episodes, hopefully they'll turn out to be a higher quality. Hopefully I'll continue to have on bigger bands, especially now with my new patch bay. I've got 12 open inputs, plenty for a whole band, a big band. I did have J. Lloyd on from J. Lloyd's Mashup in one of the earlier episodes. Some of the biggest names in Asheville came on during that first season or so where the show was so sloppy. I mean, it's still pretty sloppy, but I wish that I could get some people on like Ben Hovey back, Maybe I will. I got to dedicate some time to the booking process or find an assistant. If anybody out there knows of an assistant that could handle video editing and booking, and I think those are the biggest draws, maybe some technical AV stuff, send them my way. That'd be great. Or I could probably just go advertise at UNCA. So many live streams, so many new perspectives on music that I got to interact with and learn from. Very grateful. Thank you again to everybody who came. Thanks to anybody who's watching this. I don't know who would watch just me read just a list of names, but I am, just very thankful for everybody out there who supports the show in any way, which includes smashing that subscribe button or like or commenting or telling your friends, hey, this is Astral Aid Note. Or like maybe you tuned in, this is your first episode, in which case I'm sorry, this is not what the show usually is. But maybe you tuned in to this to see me, or another episode to see somebody specific. Maybe try out another episode. You might find another musician that you can respect and admire and encourage and support. Now, I do think that I'm at the end of this recap of this year. I'm not sure what other big stuff happened this year. years are so big. It's hard to summarize, a whole year. 365 days. 366 this year for 2024. But yes, I am Sam Irvin, and my business is called Irvin Music Studio, and then part of the third department, not lessons, not event entertainment, but sound production services. This live stream, Asheville 8 note, Asheville 8 parentheses PM into parentheses note, shall continue into 2024. I really want to make something big happen for the 100th episode. So try to stay tuned for that. Maybe a big party with previous guests returning. We've got the anniversary episode coming up as well. We have a Patreon for Irvin Music Studio, and there's the YouTube channel. Check this out there. Yeah, so I think I'm going to take a brief break and then come back and talk about my patch bay a little bit, and maybe just mess around with some synths. So yeah, thanks. This is Asheville 8 note. I have no button to fade to black anymore. Yeah, there is more to... I talked about trying to get a 4K video switcher involved in this. A few more upgrades to the show are mandatory. I got to figure out how to control my cameras with my iPad. I was looking earlier, and that is possible. I also need to have maybe sound effects controlled over here. That would be really cool. And maybe, an assistant to help, especially with guests, to talk to the guest, maybe warm them up and occupy them while I am often in like a technical grind, like as I'm setting everything up. Oh, I forgot to water my plant. I'll do that during the break too. Okay. Asheville 8 note. I wonder if you can hear me. I wonder if anybody can hear me out there. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Check, 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 check. Oh no, that's too much. Check. Check, check. Not enough. Too much. How am I ever to know what's right? Doesn't matter. Ah. Oh gosh. Okay. I'm gonna try to make this. Okay, I believe that I've got this working. Now I can check in a moment and see, am I actually coming through? Can you really hear me? Is it just a myth? Or am I fooling myself? Let's see. Let's see, can I hear me? Let's see, can I hear me? I can hear me. Okay, so now I can proceed to talk about what the heck is happening with my patch bay. One of the new features of my studio is being able to patch everything in through a live mastering process, like I mentioned earlier. I've got these warm audio rack mount units here, an EQ and a compressor. Typically trying to kick up a little bit of the EQ and or of the lows and highs and scoop out the mids. I haven't set them. They're definitely not set up in a way that is great for stereo at the moment, but good enough for my live stream. Let's see, I could probably even take this guy out farther. So I could be on camera at all. Wouldn't that make some sense? Yeah, there we go, maybe. All right, cool. So part of the Patch Bay situation with OBS, the platform that I stream with, a complication is that Mac doesn't offer the same plugin that I had used with my Windows PC that allowed me to use as many inputs as I wanted to go into OBS. Now I'm limited to 2 inputs, only inputs 1 and 2 is what you're hearing in the live stream. And so in order to sum everything, all of the other inputs, including this microphone, which I have plugged into 3 here, I have to send all of those inputs out of a couple of outputs that I've got mapped into this Patch Bay. Outputs 5 and 6 from the 18i20 here are mapped to this Patch Bay. Those outputs have this mic, but also I'm going to throw a synthesizer in there momentarily. I could put a guitar in there. Whatever I plug into the inputs here, either in this Patch Bay that goes to the back of either of these interfaces. Most of them go to the Claret Plus 8 Pre expander here, but there are a couple that go to the 18i20. Anything I plug into those inputs or the inputs here on the front, I can send out of outputs 5 and 6 into the mastering chain and into channels 1 and 2 that everybody's going to hear in OBS. Now, at the same time, that allows me to record all of the channels separately. So all of the channels are currently recording in Pro Tools, I believe. I could be wrong about that. Let's double check to make sure that I have not seriously messed something up. Okay, yes, it is recording. That's great. OBS is recording. Pro Tools is recording. Everything is as it should be, I believe, in the studio. My main camera's over here. I should be talking to you. So yes, all of those channels are recording individually, and also coming out of 5 and 6 here. I believe that I am recording the master version too. So I think in many cases that will probably be okay, as long as I've remembered to set it in a stereo way, which I neglected to do this time. So I'm really wondering what that's going to sound like eventually. Maybe I could check it again real quick. I hope that's just me on my phone. It's a little quiet. I think I'm going to bump it up a little bit here. Maybe here a little bit too. Check. Let's see, I'll have to keep an eye on that as I'm sticking more stuff in there. Jennifer Yates, I love you too. Thanks for tuning in. That's great. All right, that's great. I think I should be coming through a little louder. That's great. I'm talking about this Patch Bay. I'm talking about how I've got all of these inputs. I have 12 inputs to play with. That's more than I've ever had. Previously, all of my synthesizers were just going into this big mixer here, which served as a summing mixer, the big brain, and I just had two outputs coming through, so I could maybe pan left and right, but that was extremely limiting when it came to recording a bunch of synthesizers at the same time in separate channels for balancing purposes, or just to mix with more freedom. And so now I can patch all of those synthesizers, which still route to this mixer. So I still have the mixer in here as an option. The stereo out of this mixer is an option out of the front of this patch bay. But I also have each individual synthesizer that I could map from the patch bay, like say this Mother 32 that I'm looking at right here, this beautiful Mother 32. I can stick it right into number 4 here, and hopefully have a little bit of sound. Now I think that's probably going to swamp my voice. I'm not sure how the levels are going to go, so as I'm working with bands or something in the live stream, I'll have to keep an ear on what's something good. So I'm curious how that did sound. Maybe I can.
Love you too. Thanks for tuning in. That's
I'm curious how this is. Oof, yeah, this microphone needs to be jacked up, I think. Is a lot more. Give me a lot more of that. The synthesizers are definitely going to swamp me, I think, for the most part when I'm talking. But maybe see if that's going to sound any better. I definitely don't want anything to feed back. So that was an important thing to think about as I was sending 5 and 6 through all of what it goes through and into 1 and 2. Had to make sure not to have inputs 1 and 2 coming out of 5 and 6, or that would create a feedback loop. Glad I remembered that this time. Coming out of 5 and 6, or that would create a feedback loop. Excellent. Now I can hear myself over the synthesizer. Isn't that great, everybody? I think I'm a little hot, but that's fine. So it's great. I have a synthesizer. It comes out of my patch bay. I can put it right into an input and have it recording. It's recording right now. I will have that later if I wanted to make it louder or accentuate the bass on it or compress it in a certain way that I don't want to affect any other synthesizers or my microphone or a guitar loop or something. Now there is another cool thing about the patch bay, which is that I can take this Mother 32, the synthesizer, and run it through any combination of effects that I would like. So let's start that process. Let's get crazy here. I'm going to run it first through, man, I wonder if anybody's watching, they want to give me some recommendations as to what effects to use. This is just an experiment, a demonstration. I'm going to go first into maybe the delay, because delays are always fun. Actually, but before the delay, I'm going to go drive. So we'll drive it. Then, you know what? I changed my mind. I'm not going to do the drive. I'm going to do the delay. The delay has a drive on it, so I don't need a drive. Then I'm going to send it through this stereo chorus. Now, this stereo chorus, the Mini Foger, it's sort of like a secret that you can get a stereo signal coming out of this chorus pedal. So if I come up here, Maybe I'll make a more interesting patch so I don't drive everybody nuts. I don't know who's watching this, but, you know, I love you guys if you're out there. Just from two effects. That's nice. I'm sure this mic is picking up some of the synthesizer. Let's find out. All right. So, the demonstration is complicated by me having this microphone plugged in alongside of the synthesizer here. I'm not sure when I'm coming through, when my voice is coming through and when it's not. So I'm just gonna start goofing around, and I'm gonna stop talking and hopefully create something nice sounding. So I'm gonna do that. Well, it looks like I haven't worked out all of the feedback kinks yet, so no jam tonight. I'm gonna have to go back to the drawing board and figure this out. But I have no doubt that once I do get some practice in with this patch bay, it's going to be revolutionary for my studio. Just not yet. So thanks for tuning in. If anybody's watching this, sorry for the misfire here, this anticlimax, but that's the nature of an improv, experimental live stream such as this brave project called Asheville 8 Note, Asheville 8 parentheses PM end parentheses note. So have a good night. See you next episode. Hopefully I will have a better understanding of what is going on. All right.